Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Thank you for joining me in this very in-depth look at using your StreamDeck to get the most out of VoiceMeter. StreamDeck, if you guys are not familiar, if you're not familiar with either of the two things that we're going to be talking about, you're watching the wrong video because this is going to be half an hour of me rambling. But today, we're going to be going over how to use a StreamDeck in conjunction with VoiceMeter. Specifically, I'm going to be using VoiceMeter Banana to get not only the most out of VoiceMeter, but to just give yourself the best and easiest experience using both of these, because that's what I want. I don't just want complete control over all the audio of my system for myself or for streaming or for Let's Plays or whatever, but I just want to be lazy and have stuff work. Now, the first thing that you're going to need is a StreamDeck. I'm using the 15-button model with the 3x5. This will obviously work with any model of your StreamDeck. And you're going to need VoiceMeter Banana, which can be found at vb-audio.com. These guys are amazing. They make a lot of software completely on donations, so if you guys like this software and you can donate to them, please by all means do. They make not just voice managing equipment, they make virtual audio cables, they do V-band stuff. It's fantastic. The two pieces of software you're going to need from them are you're going to need VoiceMeter Banana, specifically for the program I'm using. If you need a bit less, you can use VoiceMeter, and if you need a bit more, you can use VoiceMeter Potato. In addition, you're going to want to download their virtual audio cable. I'll be getting to what this is used for in a little bit, but it's going to save you a bunch of time and give you a lot more control over your equipment. Now, the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to get acquainted with using your StreamDeck, and then with using VoiceMeter, and then how we make both of them fucking make a baby. So, first thing you're going to want to do is set up a folder, which you can do through the StreamDeck button here by creating a folder, change the image to whatever you want. I also highly recommend just having the system open key here to open StreamDeck itself so that you can quickly open it to change any settings that you want. Now, in the StreamDeck folder, there's a bunch of stuff here that we're going to go over, but right now I'll just tell you what they do. So this one simply opens up VoiceMeter. This one turns the sound off coming through my speakers, and then these control the levels of various things inside of VoiceMeter. So I can turn the music down, turn the music up, turn my game volume down, my communication applications, all of that without having to open a single program, without having to clutter up my screen with more software. Not that it's not amazing software to have running in the background. Now, VoiceMeter Banana gives you basically complete freedom over the audio going in and out of your system from different applications, from different hardware, to different applications and to different hardware. So, quick rundown of what this pretty complex looking software does. It's really pretty simple. We have 3 hardware inputs. We have 1, 2, and 3. I have the first one empty. There is no input device. This one I use for any additional microphones I have set up, like my Vive microphone or like a lapel mic, anything else just as a backup. This one, applications, is set up to that virtual audio cable that I had you guys download before. When you do download that, it's going to look pretty simple. You're going to open it up, and it's going to just be this screen that's going to say install driver. Mine says remove driver, obviously, because I already have it installed, but it's going to say install driver. You just click that, and it's all done, and now you have a virtual audio cable that lets you patch things together. Super easy. And then the third hardware input is the only one hooked up right now that is an actual hardware input, which is my microphone. It's a USB mic going in that I have set right here as my Yeti stereo microphone. Now, in addition, you get 2, by default, in addition to the virtual cable that we got, which is acting in the hardware slot, you do have two virtual inputs. You have VoiceMeter VIO and VoiceMeter aux. It'll show up in the system as VoiceMeter aux VIO as well. You have three hardware outputs. I have A1 here set as my main speakers. They are just speakers hooked into my audio jack. A2 are the headphones I'm using. They are currently Bluetooth headphones, and this is very important. We'll come back to this later. But if you are using Bluetooth headphones, you have to put them at A2, or it's going to cause you way more trouble than it's worth. And then A3, I have set up as an additional virtual cable I'm using for something, whatever you want to use it for. In addition to these 5 strips, as these are called, we have 5 buses, and these are our 5 outputs. A1 goes to hardware 1, which is my speakers, so this is how loud the things coming out of my speakers are. A2 goes to my headphones, so how loud things going out of my headphones are. So if I move this, it changes for me, but you guys don't hear anything different. And then we have bus 1 and bus 2, which are my 2 virtual outputs, which I use. B1 goes to the virtual output going to my recording software, which in this case is OBS, and B2 I have going to my communication software, TeamSpeak and Discord, so that I can control what my friends I'm talking to on Discord hear versus what people watching the video will hear, because maybe I don't want to be blasting music to my friends on Discord, but I would like to have it in the background and be able to listen to it. Now, each one of these strips allow you to choose which piece of hardware they're going to and which output they're going to. So this, the applications where I'm playing music right now on YouTube, this could also be used for Spotify, iTunes, whatever you want to use to play music. I have outputting to A2, which is my headphones, and to B1, which is the virtual output that's going to OBS. I have my microphone going to both of them because I just never turn it off for B2 because I always talk to people. But I don't hear it right now because I don't have it set up to A2. My desktop audio and my communication software are both going into my headphones. They are both going into the recording, and the desktop audio is going into B2 because I like to be able to annoy my friends with soundboards. But I don't want them to be able to hear themselves because, again, the comms software is for TeamSpeak and Discord, and if I turned on B2, anything that they said would then go back out, they would kill me, it wouldn't be very fun. In addition to that, this cassette here just allows you to very quickly record and play back any audio going through the system. It's a nice little feature. I don't personally use it very much. Now, for this setup, in addition to the settings that you see that I have here, you're going to have to do some settings with your system. First, you're going to open Control Panel and navigate to Sound so that you have this window here. You can see here is that virtual audio cable that we installed, and you can see the audio coming out of it. We want to set VoiceMeter input VIO, which is this one right here, as our default device. And we want to set, I can't because I already did, but we want to set VoiceMeter aux input, this one, to our default communication device. Then we want to go to recording. We want to set VB audio VoiceMeter VIO, again, this channel, to be our default recording. And we want to set VoiceMeter aux VIO, so the aux, to be our default communication device. In addition to that, you're going to want to right-click on your sound, go to Open Sound Settings, open the shitty Windows 10 settings. You'll see that it's already changed our default output and input devices because we already changed them in... We already changed them in our control panel sound settings, but you want to go here to advanced sound settings, and here you can choose by application what you want its input and its output to be. And here's where you would go to any application you'd want to use to play music and set their default output to be that virtual cable that we did before. This is how you can separate the audio coming from whatever programs you're using to play music from the rest of your audio, like your gameplay and your communications. Once that is done, you can set this to be that cable output. So now all of our music will be coming out of this channel, microphone out of this channel, miscellaneous desktop noise and game audio out of this channel, and all of your communication software out of this channel, so you have complete control, over all of those. Now, before, you heard me say that if you're using Bluetooth headphones specifically, you need to set them to hardware 2. If you are using wired headphones that you just plug into a jack, this does not matter. The only hardware that you need is your speakers, and you can set those to be wherever you want, doesn't matter. But with Bluetooth specifically, you run into a problem. Now, in VoiceMeter Banana, under the menu, there is a setting that says Auto Restart Audio Engine. I have this checked in addition to System Tray Run on Startup. That's important so you can hear stuff when you start. But what Auto Restart Audio Engine is supposed to do is it says if there's any changes to your hardware, it will restart the audio engine. It does not do that. It might be bugged, it might never work, I don't know. But if you have your Bluetooth speakers as A1, your Bluetooth headphones as A1, and you turn them off, then the entire system won't work. The primary output has to be connected for the system to work, even if nothing's coming out of it. Like right now, my speakers are set up as A1, and nothing has A1 checked, but they are still connected so the system works. Now, here's the problem. If you have A2 or A3, in my case A2, set up to your Bluetooth headphones and you turn them off, you no longer hear sound out of them because they're off, as things should be. If you turn them back on, even if you have audio pumping out of A2 in all of these different strips, you will not hear the audio because VoiceMeter has not recognized a hardware change. Like I said, if it did that, it would do the automatic restart. There's a workaround to that, and it brings us over to the StreamDeck. Now, to get your StreamDeck to work with VoiceMeter, you're going to need this plugin, VoiceMeter by BarRaider. This guy makes amazing plugins for stuff. I will have a link to his page in the description, as well as VoiceMeter and a couple other things for you guys, just so you have them there at your fingertips. Now, StreamDeck already has a bunch of integration. It has a bunch of nice stuff, like you can just have the system open something like VoiceMeter. Super useful if you just want to be able to press the button and bring VoiceMeter up. All I did was press the button there and it brought it to the front because it opened it. So I can tweak any stuff that I, might need to get fiddly with at a moment's notice. Super handy. But the rest of these settings that I have, turning on and off my speakers, turning up and down the volume of what I hear, turning up and down the volume of the music. As you can see, I'm just doing that with the buttons here. Turning up and down the volume of my game, which I have, remember, in bus 3 here. And turning up and down the volume of my communication devices here, as well as muting them, I can do completely through the StreamDeck using this plugin. Now, in addition to this plugin, you're going to want to have this page open, which is from VB Audio. This is their API information, which is what the plugin uses to talk to it. An API, if you don't know, is a list of commands that programs use to talk to each other that is created by the people that wrote the program. So, for instance, if I wanted to make a program that took my location and figured out where the nearest Baskin-Robbins is, if I worked for Baskin-Robbins, I could use the Google Maps API to send a request to figure out the location of the user, and then run that through my program to figure out where the nearest Baskin-Robbins is. There's the same thing with VoiceMeter. It has API commands. So for instance, if we scroll down and look through some of them, command.restart restarts the audio engine. Remember that thing that we wanted it to do by itself, but it doesn't do? We can just run that command when we turn our headphones on, and everything will work. We can also control specific things with the strips. So remember, we had these 5 strips and these 5 buses, our inputs and our outputs. We can control settings with the strips, and we can control different settings with the buses using this API. And the way that we send these commands is through these plugins written by BarRaider. Now, the commands can do everything from take a strip. So strip I means whatever strip number you want. The way that these are numbered are like everything else in programming, starting with 0. So this is strip 0, strip 1, strip 2, strip 3, and strip 4. And this is bus 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And what we can do is we can affect all of these different settings for the different strips and affect all of these different settings for the different buses through commands set from the StreamDeck. So for instance, if I wanted to mute the music, I would want to say, all right, we have strip 1 and we want to mute it. So the command would be strip open bracket 1.mute equals 1, which means that this mute button would be on. And if we look at our StreamDeck and we look at the music, which is what I have set to this one, and we look at the mute button, we can see that command right here. So mode 1 key press, when it's in mode 1 and I press the key, it's going to send this command. And now we can see the music is muted. It has changed the picture, and if I press it again, it is unmuted. Because it has muted this strip, not only is it no longer sending information to B1 to you guys, it's not sending information to B2 either. I'm not hearing it because the entire strip has been muted. I have the same thing for game, which will mute the desktop if I hit it, and then unmute it. And I can mute my comms and unmute them, and you can see the mute buttons change each time. Now, with these, you have mode 1 key press, turns on the mute, and you have mode 2 key press, turns off the mute by setting it to 0. But how does it know which mode it is in? It is because it does a mode 1 check. All of this has been set up by BarRaider when he made this plugin. So mode 1 check says, all right, if this is true, so strip 1, this strip, if its mute function is on, so if this has been pressed, then it knows which mode it's in, and it knows which of these 2 commands to send. I've done the same thing with the output. So the output, this is for my specific experience, so the sound coming out of my headphones and my speakers, which would be, remember, the A1 bus and the A2 bus. So if I move this down, I'm not hearing any of the music, but you guys still are, because this only affects A2, this piece of hardware in that bus. So I can set bus 0 mute to 1, which is this one here, my main speakers, and then I can do a semicolon to differentiate the 2 commands, and do bus 1.mute equals 1, which is this one. So when I press it, I can no longer hear any audio through my speakers or through my headphones. It has completely muted my experience, and it has changed the picture. Changing the picture with these is super simple. They have these 2 fields, mode 1, image 1. I guess that's a typo, image 1. And then mode 2 image, and all you do is you choose file and choose which image you want it to show for each of them. Making images in StreamDeck is super simple. You can either set it or you can create a new one using their tool. It just makes images at 72 by 72. You can also do this in Paint or Photoshop or GIMP or any other photo editing software that you want. Just make it 72 by 72. You can make it a PNG and have a transparent background, whatever you guys want. Now, in addition to that, you can see that I have this VoiceMeter. All this does is open VoiceMeter. That is a system command, which would be found right here. It would be the open command, and I just changed the picture to VoiceMeter. You can also add text to them, so I've added the output, and I've set it to be on the top. made it white, made it default, made it 10 pixels, and it says output. Now, this command here, this is the one command that probably took me the longest to figure out how I wanted to do it, and this is what solves the problem of using Bluetooth headphones. So if you have that problem, now is the time to pay attention and not to the past 20 minutes of my ramblings. Now, when I press it in mode 1, it's going to set strip 1, it's going to set strip 1's A1 value to 1. So strip 1, remember, is this strip here, because it's 0 and then 1. And then the A1 value is this button here, which would send the music out of my speakers. So right now it's in mode 2, because you can see I have it set to the image where the speaker is crossed out. So if I were to press it, it would first do strip 1 would start sending audio through the speakers, then strip 3 would, which is my default audio, and then strip 4 would, which is this. So it would make all 3 of these turn on. So I will mute my microphone just so the audio coming out of the speakers doesn't feed back into it, but you'll see that when I press that button, it's going to turn these 3 A1s on, and then I'll press it again and it'll turn them off, and this will change. So let me mute my microphone. And I will tell you, take my word for it, that it did play the audio through my speakers at that point. Now, you may have noticed that during that whole time, it didn't turn off A2, which means sound was still coming out of my Bluetooth headphones. That's because in my, and again, we have to check to see which mode we're in, so I just had it check any of them to see what the state is. When I press A2, or when I press it in mode 2, it turns A1 off. At no point am I turning off A2, and this is the reason. If I don't want to hear sound out of my Bluetooth speakers, my Bluetooth headphones, I will just turn them off. When they're off, it doesn't matter if sound is getting piped through A2 with these buttons here, because my headphones are off. Now, like I said, when we switch back to A1 being off, so no sound going through my speakers, that means I want to use my headphones, but we need to restart the audio engine or it won't recognize it, like I said before. Well, if we look in the API information, there is a command to restart the audio engine. It is command.restart, and then you would set it to =1. So all you have to do is, in this, remember, we can separate different commands with the semicolon here. At the end of this command, I simply call command.restart =1. So when I switch my speakers off, which means I will be switching on my headphones, it restarts the audio engine, which I could do through the menu, but I don't want to have to do that every time. So I will mute my microphone again, and you'll see that when I turn A1 off again, this will flash because it will be restarting the audio engine. So and you can see everything flash here because it restarted the audio engine and will recognize my headphones now. So all I have to do when I put my headphones on is turn them on and press this button, and everything just works. Now, the last thing that you've probably noticed is I have big, obnoxious plus and minus buttons, and they're going to do exactly what you think. The ones above output are going to change the output values for my speakers and my headphones, which isn't going to change the experience for you. You're still going to hear my voice and the music at the same level, but for me, in my headphones, it's going up and down. I also have the music up and down, which this one here will actually change the strip, which means that you will also hear them going up and down because it's changing the audio level of the source. I have game audio up and down right here, and I have comms audio up and down in the last row, so you'll see this changes. Oop, wrong one. And all this is doing is, instead of this being the advanced toggle button, like these ones on the bottom have been, right here, the advanced toggle, I'm using advanced press/long press, which says when I press this key, you're going to take let's look at music for instance. Turning this one up and down. Take strip 1, which is this one, take the gain value, .gain, which is the bar, and plus equals 3. So just add 3 to whatever it is. So you can see this is negative 27.8 if I hit it once, negative 24.8 because it's gone up by 3. It's the same thing with the minus, strip 1.gain minus 3. And all I have to do so that I can hold it and it works is set the same thing in the long key press, and that just means that if I hold it, it goes down, and you can see it takes a second between each one. That is a value that you can change with this slider right here, how often it ticks through those while you're holding it. I have the same thing for game audio, I have the same thing for comms, but unlike those, for my output, not only am I doing two things, I'm controlling bus 0 and bus 1, but I'm controlling the buses and not the strips, because this is for my end of it, the speakers and the headphones, not for controlling the sources for the levels in a video or in a stream. All of this information on what these different commands are can be found here in the documentation. So you can see gain, it's the gain slider. You can see the pan, which is how far you want the audio to pan from the left ear to the right ear, and then the pan Y is forward and backwards when you're doing 3D sound. So all of these values can be seen here. They can all be tweaked through BarRaider's plugins for the StreamDeck. I think that's everything. I'm probably forgetting something. I'll probably record this again because I've forgotten something, but a link to an Imgur post with all of these images that I have for my keys, as well as links to VoiceMeter, to their audio cable, to this API, to the original video that I watched that I pulled a lot of information on how to initially set up VoiceMeter. I cannot remember the name of the video, but I will have it on screen now. And a link to BarRaider's page, the person who made the plugin for StreamDeck, will all be in the description. If you guys have questions, leave a comment. I will answer all of them. And that's it. I hope genuinely that this helps you guys, because I spent hours over days getting this just right, and I think that this is a system that really works and works very well. Thank you so much for your time, and have a good one.